Welcome to Ditch Auto, it's Jared, and I wanted to talk about our next challenge, which we pretty much skipped over May, and I apologize for that. It has been an extremely busy month, but one cool thing that happened earlier this month is a conversation that I had with one of our fellow Facebook group members, Timothy. Now, you know Timothy as someone who posts quite often to the Facebook group. If you're not part of the Facebook group, the link's down below. Make sure to head over there. It's our Ditch Auto Facebook group where we talk about photography and just taking pictures, getting better at using our cameras. It's a very encouraging group. There's a lot of groups on Facebook, but this one is not a negative group. It's just a great group of people, and we're quite a few people in that group, but it's been a lot of fun to be a part of that community. And I thank everybody that has joined because it's really cool to be able to jump in there, share photos, comment on each other's photos, encourage each other, and all of that good stuff. It just helps us, enjoy our passion even more. So I asked Timothy in a Facebook message what he thought about a new challenge, and he suggested like the blue hour. So the blue hour is that time before the sun has completely set where the sky is really blue. And I guess I'd been taking pictures at this time for quite some time without understanding that it was the blue hour or necessarily that it was a specific, photography moment with a name up until a few years ago when I was taking some photos at a wedding, and I thought like, okay, let's go outside. And I had another photographer with me, and I said, okay, well, we're going to go outside and we're going to take a picture right when the sun is setting, and there's like that blue, and he's like, oh, the blue hour. And I'm, oh, okay, there's a name for it. So I've really enjoyed taking photos at that time. I have a couple of photos that I'm showing you right now in this video, and I'll post in the Facebook group of examples photos, but I'm also going to include some of Timothy's photos here because he has a lot of really good examples as well. And if you're not understanding necessarily what the blue hour is, or maybe you didn't know that it was a thing, you may even have some photos. It's one of those times that we've just always appreciated because the sky is beautiful at that time, and it makes for a really good picture. But we might not necessarily think to take a picture at that time or that it actually had a specific name. So the challenge this month is to go out and take pictures in the evening, and you can actually do this in the morning as well. There seems to be like a blue hour in the morning and a blue hour in the evening, and it might not even be a whole hour. It might just be a small fraction of time. So I found a resource online, which is a website you go to and you tell it where you live, and it gives you an approximate time that the blue hour will be in the morning and the evening. So it helps you know, like, okay, what time should I go out and prepare for, and it makes it easy for you to know when that time is. So for me, I wanted to talk a little bit about, how I set up my camera or the settings and some of the things that might help you when going and taking photos at this time. Now, during this time, like, it's not super bright outside. The sun is very low. The sky is starting to become illuminated, and it's not over illuminated, which might wash out the sky, but it is partially illuminated, which means that the landscape or whatever's in front of you might not necessarily be very bright yet. So there are a lot of situations where a good portion of your photo might be underexposed in order for you to expose the sky properly. So this is where maybe taking a couple of photos might come into play, and you might actually go and composite the photos together. Or if you are familiar with HDR photography, you might play with HDR photography, because with bracketing on your camera would take a couple of different exposures, like a bright, a regular, and an underexposed, and so that way all of those mixed together would produce a properly exposed photo all the way across. And then, of course, the cool things about HDR, which is making it look edgier or more sharp or something like that, because you have a lot more camera information to work with. Now, if you have a camera that is a little bit older or perhaps isn't very good in low light situations, you may actually want to put your camera on a tripod and set your camera to a slower shutter speed to get more light in on the camera or more light in on the sensor. Because in a situation where your landscape or whatever is below the sky is not very exposed, you might have to increase the ISO sensitivity so that you can get more light on that sensor. And in doing that, sometimes you might end up getting some noise. So if you have an older camera, think about maybe a tripod and lock your camera off on a tripod. One tip to just minimize camera movement is to use the countdown timer. What I typically would do, and I don't do this so much anymore, but what I would do back in the day is I would put it on the 2-second countdown. And then I would have it locked off on a tripod, have my exposure and everything set right. I'd push the shutter button, and then I would get the photo, and there would be no movement because sometimes even pushing the shutter button could move the camera just a little bit. And so using the countdown, make sure that the camera is completely still when you take the photo. Now these days I'm using cameras that are really good in lower light situations, and so most of the time I'm shooting handheld unless I have a scenario that calls for it otherwise. And of course shooting bracketed shots, which I explained earlier for like HDR, you could pull off some really cool photos as well. So the blue hour is fun because the sky gets beautiful, it reflects beautiful onto the earth, and you can really get some cool effects or some cool shots. Now, I find it really easy to just take a picture of a blue sky by setting your camera settings to make the sky blue. I don't want you to do that. I want you to wait to that time of day, whether it be in the morning or the evening, where the sky is naturally blue, and I want you to take a photo during that time and think about what the blueness of the sky or the coloring of the sky is doing to whatever it is around you to make your image more interesting, to tell a little bit of a story. My favorite photo, which I showed earlier and I'll show it again, is this photo. It's like the background on my phone. It's the background on my computer sometimes. And what I absolutely love about this is that it was during that blue hour time, but there are also some other colors in the sky. So it's not completely blue, but you do see the blueness of the sky coming in and just affecting a lot of things. That blueness of the sky changes the temperature, the color temperature of the earth. And I'm just able to get really cool colors out of everything. Very cool detail out of the water even, that you see this little like stream kind of coming through the shot. It's a photo that I just absolutely love. And I captured that one when I went up to Oregon to shoot the eclipse last year in 2017. I went up and shot the totality eclipse, which was a lot of fun. But some of my favorite photos were some of the photos that I got just going and fooling around in the areas that we were at. And that was one of the photos that I just really absolutely loved. So have fun with it. We're doing these challenges for an entire month because I want you to go out multiple times and try different things. You might try a landscape situation in the blue hour. You might try a portrait situation in the blue hour, or some architectural or some street photography. There's so many different options that it's countless. But we are going to try and be more frequent with the challenges, especially going into summer time where I'm at here in the United States. Going into the summer, we have our cameras out. We have a lot more activity, a lot more things going on. So I definitely want to provide some additional challenges to everybody to get out there and use your camera more, because that's the key to getting better with photography. So if you have any questions or any thoughts, definitely ask them down in the comment section below. I invite everybody to take part in this challenge and come join us in the Facebook group. It's for everybody, and it's free. There's no charge. Just come and join in and help others. Others will help you. We'll grow together as photographers and be better because of it. So that's going to do it for today's video. Thanks a lot for being patient with me, and I hope to see you back here in the next one.